So today's first question. Define constructor. How constructor are different from method or member functions? Illustrate with example. So what is a constructor? A constructor is a member function of a class which initializes object of a class. In C++, constructor is automatically called with objects creation. So a constructor is a member function. That's similar. Okay. The only difference is going to be the moment you create an object, the constructor is automatically called and it is executed. So constructor are special member functions which are called by compiler every time an object of that class is instantiated. Constructor have the same name of the class and may be defined inside or outside the class definition. Now, the constructor basically there can be many constructors, okay, and it has the same name of the class. The main characteristics of a constructor is it's the same name of the class. So because it's of the same name of the class, it's automatically called whenever you create a function, create an object. Now, there are three types of constructors. The default constructor, the parameterized constructor, and a copy constructor. Now, default constructor is one which will not have any parameters basically. So default constructor is one which will not have any parameters. It's a simple function without any parameter. So it's having the same name of the class. And every time you create a constructor without a parameter basically, so that constructor is called. Now parameterized constructor is something like you are giving the parameters. So I will explain to you with an example. So you have if you have two parameters or two variables and you have both the parameters, you're calling a constructor with a parameter, then that particular constructor will call. So in that case, the first constructor, default constructor, is not only one constructor get called based on what is the parameter that you have. And copy constructor is like it will copy the one object to the other. So whenever you're copying from one object to other, the copy constructor is called actually. So how constructor are different from method or member function? So a constructor has the same name as the class itself. A constructor has the same name as the class itself. A constructor doesn't have a return type. A constructor is automatically called when an object is created. So to tell you, a function can have a return type. A constructor is automatically called, whereas a function you will have to call it. If you do not specify a constructor, C++ compiler generates a default constructor for us. Now in case if we are not doing, then it creates a default without any parameters. It just calls it and it does nothing. In fact, expect no parameters and an empty body basically. So I'll show you with an example a constructor. So this is a constructor program we have, and what is it having is you can see this is a constructor class and it's having a constructor called construct. It's a default constructor wherein it is having no parameters here inside in the function. Whereas this is a parameterized constructor. You can just see it's having the same name as the class again. Same, the constructor class name is construct and this is a construct. Whereas it is having one parameter integer x inside the function or inside the constructor basically. Now in the main function, whenever you create an empty object, it goes on and directly calls only the default constructor. So what we have done in the default constructor is we are telling this is the default constructor first thing, we're just putting out to show that it is got executed. And as this particular construct is having one member data member, so or one variable, we are actually initializing that one data member ID is equal to 1. The next one here, what we are doing is we are actually passing the parameter. So whatever the parameter we have solved, whatever value we are going to send, that is the value we are going to assign to that member function or data member basically, or variable. So construct object, here it's an empty, so it will assign one value because this is called. So object 1 will have a value 1. So we are outputting this construct 1 and we are telling object, we are printing out that particular value. So object 1.id. And we are able to access that all data from the variable from outside the class itself because we have actually given it as a public. The access specifier is public, so even the data member is a public, so we can access that data member directly from the function itself or from the main function itself. So here again the construct, we create object 2 and we are sending value 21. So naturally the second one, the cout is going to be printing 21. Okay. So whatever value is getting assigned, this function will be called the second parameterized constructor, and because the value we sent is 21, the 21 will get assigned. Now the third one is a copy constructor. What we are doing is we are copying the variable from 1 to 2, and this is a copy. We will print whatever value we have assigned for object 2 becomes the value of object 3. So this is called as a copy constructor. It is copying the data from the object 2 is all the parameters, all the data from the object 2 is assigned to object 3. But object 3 has to be of the same type. Only then we can assign a object of the same type can only be assigned. So let's execute this. So I've already compiled this and we can execute it. You can just see the constructor ID's default constructor is called. First time the default constructor is called and the constructor ID is 1. You can just see here. So whenever we created an object, automatically the constructor has got executed. So default constructor call, and then second line is constructor ID is so it is printing whatever value we have assigned for the default constructor or the class basically. So by default it is assigning 1, so it's displayed 1 here. The second time when we created an object, automatically it is called the second constructor. So we have assigned created an object 2, and basically we have created an object 2, and we have assigned value 21. So the parameterized constructor is called automatically and 21 is assigned, and when we are printing the value of the second object, the data member of the variable of the object, you can see it is 21. Now when we have added the value here, you can see we have added we have copied the object 2 to object 3. Then you can see the object 3 whenever we are printing, it is actually having the same value 21. So I hope you have understood very clearly.